kind of a little. All right, are we all good? Stretched out. Shang-Chi, you good? You got your.
All right, yeah. Like Simu said, he said stretch.
Stretch
before.
Very important. Yeah. All right, here we go. Mabuhay, everyone, and welcome to Halo Time. I am Justin Quizon, and joining me is the rest of my fellow Halo guys ready to mix it up. Who do we have here? Go ahead. Wherever you're at on the screen, go.
What's up, guys? My name's Lawrence Sharma, aka Law. Sounds a lot cooler. You may recognize me from Cinema Blend or AMC Theaters or Earth's Mightiest Zeros, but yeah, just excited to be here, man.
I'm Mike Manalo. I'm also excited to be here. You guys might know me from the Nerds of Color. For those of you who don't, then hopefully you'll know me from this. But honestly speaking, we are the FilAm Film Fans, and we wanted to just get together, mix things up because it's Halo time.
Yeah.
And just get into this freewheeling conversation with our fellow Filipino friends, just to kind of chat about all things nerd, but especially in this case, eventually Shang-Chi. But before we do, I guess, do we have any intros that we want to kind of get people, acquainted with so that they know who the films are?
I really think it would be fun to let people in on kind of how we met. Because, right at the top, Justin's got his podcast and his outlets. Mike's got his, I've got mine. Our careers are very different, but somehow through fate and the Russo brothers, we assembled, just like the Avengers. So the story's quick, but basically it was the press day for Wreck-It Ralph 2. I believe it was coming out on Blu-ray. And then also Little Mermaid, like 25th anniversary. It was very cool, very exciting. Already a great day. And I'm like walking in, like, I wouldn't even call it a cafeteria. It's like a sitting area.
Yeah.
I'm walking by and I freak out because from a distance, I'm pretty sure I see both of the Russo brothers, and I panic, and I find two people who look like me sitting at a table who are also kind of whispering to each other. So I went up to them and I was like, yo, are those the Russo brothers? And they're like, yeah, that's them. And then I sat down, and the rest is history. And while we haven't worked together, we've been kind of watching each other's careers from afar and been social media homies. So I don't know, man. This is our powers combining. Watch out, Thanos.
Definitely, I really embrace this opportunity. I think this is the first time I've really gotten a chance to get together with you guys and just talk about movies and talk about outside of just us hanging out, even or outside of our Russo jobs where they call us in and no, I'm kidding. But I think that's really what the point of FilAm Film Fans is just us getting together and talking about stuff. I mean, like, for those of you guys listening to us, while we love and appreciate your views, we're not in this to get views. We're not in this to do anything like crazy or recognize the internet. This is just us for fun, trying to talk about movies and talking about geek stuff because we've got a ton in common, and this is really our opportunity to just talk about it all and share it with you, hopefully, if you want to. So for those of you guys looking for some of those awesome interviews and some of those awesome hot takes on different things, you definitely can hit us up on like Screen Rant and Nerds of Color and Justin's projects. You've got a ton of awesome projects as well. So you can go to those. But just want to hear what a bunch of Filipino nerds want to tell you and talk to you about movies with one another. This is that's Halo time right here.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I like that we all had the same pun loaded up right at the gate because I was like, I'm gonna say mix it up at some point. And then you got it right in the intro. Mike got it in, and now I'm being kind of meta and referencing it. But yeah, it's the show where we mix it up.
Yeah. And in case if you're a non-Filipino watching this going, why do you guys keep saying mix? Halo is an amazing Filipino dessert, and basically
a national dessert, right?
A national dessert, yeah. And it's basically, the term is as loosely translated, mix. That's what it is. Because it's like it's like a parfait times 20, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And that's what we're here to do. We are different flavors and levels, but when we mix it up, we have a really
We got beans in us.
We got beans in us.
Simple. You know, it's funny. A halo visually just looks like someone's first day at a boba shop. Just like, oh my god, what do I put in this thing? Fuck. I got ice cream. I got flan. Fuck. Beans. I'll do 2 types of beans.
Stick it all in there, man.
Throw all of it.
Yeah.
You should try halo. It's great.
It's very
yeah.
And I mean, if you are and you were wondering what halo meant, then shame on you.
What the hell, man?
What happened? You know? If you don't know what Limpy is, you have to really figure out your roots. So
for real.
Totally kidding. Come still, you know.
Well, before we get started, we should also mention that this conversation is going to be a little loosey-goosey, which means if you haven't seen the film Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, maybe tune in after you've seen it, because it's going to get very spoilery. We have a lot of feelings that we need to express, and we're not gonna look out.
Holding back.
This is us warning you. We're warning you right now.
And if you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop
Come
this.
on.
But yeah, no, I think we're definitely gonna go into spoilers for this one. So you know, you've been warned.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
So where do we start? How do we start this conversation?
Why don't you kick us off?
If I may, I mean, like, Lawrence and I had the opportunity to see this a little earlier, Justin. So you've got the freshest perspective on this. Having been the person that just saw it.
Yes.
And I would love it if you kicked this off and just kind of gave us your thoughts, you know, and then compare notes. You know, what do you think?
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I've been mildly nervous about the film for a while. Not that I didn't trust the filmmakers involved or the cast, but there was always that case of like, what if this didn't work? What if this was the one that didn't gel? And then the reactions were coming in, and then I talked to you two. So now my worry was, oh no, what if I'm overhyping it too much? Now it's the other issue, because I've heard nothing but excitement and praises, and I cried and I got emotional, and it's the best this, it's the best that of the MCU. And so I'm like, oh no, now I'm worried it won't live up to any of those expectations. So when I went to go see it, I basically buckled up and went, okay, here we go. And I knew I was fine. I was gonna be fine with the first fight scene with Tony Leung and Fala Chen.
Oh my god.
And then I'm like, we're good. I have a feeling if they nailed this, which completely understood the concept of a wuxia style looking film, understood that martial arts isn't just a beat 'em up, which is great, FYI, but but a fight scene could tell a story and tell you character, which is what this sequence did. I'm like, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. I don't gotta worry I really don't gotta worry for like a bit. Like, I think we're good, you know? And then I loved, and then it kept getting better, you know, and everything just kept proceeding. And I do have some things here and there, you know, obviously I got my own little notes. I'll get to those in a little bit later. And actually what I found fascinating, there were some things that I heard early on from other reviews that like, I didn't agree with that. You know, so I got to the end, and when I got to the very last scene, even before the amazing mid-credit sequence, which we will get to, when I got to the last scene, the last shot, I was like, I love this movie. You know? So I was, but I'm ready to, we'll obviously dive more in detail with all the other stuff that we loved, but like, Mike, what about you? What did you tell us about the film?
Sure. So really quickly, out of 10, what would you give it?
Out of 10? At the moment, I would definitely say like 8.5, and then that might rise with more viewings.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. For me, it's a 9 out of 10. So we're not that far off. Here's the thing. I can guarantee you, with repeat viewings, it only gets better. Like, I'm serious. The first time I saw it, I loved it. I really did. I was gonna put it at an 8.5 as well because it's such a really good movie. I think hands down, best action in the MCU. Best action in the MCU. I think that bus scene, God, that was all that you needed. And then they up it with the scaffold scene and everything like that. It's brilliantly done, brilliantly choreographed. So tribute really has to be paid to the late great Brad Allen.
100%.
The protege of Jackie Chan, who just knocked it the F out of the park here, along with Simu and along with Munger, kicked so much ass. And of course Andy Lee, how can they really knocked it out of the park. And every time I reference the MCU and for action, Winter Soldier is always consistently the top film.
Yeah,
not
understandable.
Nope, not anymore.
Drop kick that way down.
Sorry, Buck.
Yeah.
For real. Mike, I'm like right there with you. It's at a 9 for me. I think when I first saw it, I was trying to be very realistic. I was trying to temper kind of the emotions I was feeling after the first watch, and I've seen it 3 as of this recording, and I hope that goes up. Because each time, for some reason, I grew more emotional, and I think like you guys mentioned, the fights are incredible. The tributes that are paid are incredible and impeccably done. And we can get into performances right now because Tony Leung,
oh my God,
a legend in film history. I saw a tweet the other day that perfectly summed up his performance, where they say that eyes are the window to the soul, but Tony Leung's are a portal. And I was like, oh, bitch, that's the one.
That's
that's
accurate.
The one. And 1000%, right? We connected with Wenwu, not the Mandarin.
Not the Mandarin.
Let's not do it anymore. Although I like that you're wearing your Shang-Chi cosplay. I have a Mandarin collar. Oh, not cosplay. Your mom gave you that.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
But performance-wise, like Simu, an incredible lead. I saw someone say like he didn't have an arc. I was like, you should fuck off.
It's a huge arc.
It's a huge arc.
A huge arc.
Among our, we have to shout out first film. This is her debut, and she kills it, both in action and performance. Awkwafina.
Yeah.
I'm one of those Asian people that will tell you like, yeah, she's in everything. I wish more people got an opportunity. I didn't have those thoughts. She was exactly what Simu needed, I think, to bounce off.
100%.
Too much, from a comedic standpoint. It wasn't hammering you with jokes. When she needed to be dramatic, she was dramatic. When she needed comedic and the scene needed levity, she was perfectly timed. So
she was our eyes. Yeah. We were seeing it through Katie, right?
Yeah.
Like all of the questions we had.
The realization I had with Katie, because I know one of the things that Destin talked about, the director of the film talked about, like, this is going to be an Asian American Marvel movie. This is an Asian American superhero story, and obviously my brain went okay, because clearly with Shang, right? Because he's the character, and to a certain degree, he has a bit of an Asian American experience, but it's so obvious when you get to the end. It's like, no, it's Katie.
It's Katie.
Katie is representing the Asian American experience. And I thought that was fantastic because, it's like, oh, like I didn't have those conversations with my family. Oh, like I didn't have those insecurities about where I'm at in my life. Like, and like the whole, I'm waiting, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
And obviously, you use Awkwafina for that kind of character. There's a little, like when you watch, like the best use of her, one of her best performances by far is obviously The Farewell. And what's so great about The Farewell is that it perfectly utilizes her as a Asian American. And the whole movie is about that dichotomy. And what's great is that in a weird way, it's like you took a little bit of her character from The Farewell, and then you gave her a martial arts superhero best friend.
Yeah.
And then she got to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow and kill a demon. It's rad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I'd love to go back to something, Lawrence, that you kind of pointed out. If you're complaining that Shang-Chi doesn't have an arc in the movie, let me spell out what that arc is for you, because
Please.
you clearly didn't watch the movie. This is for, you know, it is a family story first and foremost, but every member of the family has an arc. And in particular, Shang's arc is to make peace with every aspect of himself that exists. He is not at peace when he's in the States because he's living with the guilt that he actually carried out a murder, because that's what his dad turned him into. And he has to accept that that actually is part of himself and stop running away from that, and make sure that he makes, once he's at peace with himself, he's able to channel like the 10 Rings energy, you know, and make peace with the fact that he's also guilty about his mom's death. You know, he's got to make peace with all of these aspects about himself. And once he does, he can be the full-on perfect superhero that we need him to be. So whoever said that he doesn't have an arc, this is the portion of the video that you need to watch. Okay? Because he has an arc and it's defined. So stop acting like a pretentious jackass.
Amen.
Yeah, and recognize storytelling and character development is.
Yeah.
I have to jump off of something that Justin actually brought up, is that while Katie is the Asian American eyes, right? We're also seeing Xiaoling's character, who is Chinese. She's from there, and there's like these little nods, because you know the Asian American experience is not the Asian experience, and the like you said, there is a dichotomy there, and we don't really see it a lot, you know, like the differences. Shang-Chi opens the door to a really nice conversation for people to start having, right? To kind of see those differences in culture or upbringing, or like, you know, Shang technically is an immigrant, right, who came to the States. Like does it do a lot of like, you know, delving into like what those nuances are in relationships? No, but like it's cool to see it on film, you know, and like you said, Mike, everyone has not even a moment, an arc. They fucking found a way to give Trevor Slattery another fucking chance. You know what I mean? Like they figured it out, man. And that's something I really love about the recent MCU movies, from like, you know, Infinity War onward. We're finding a way to honor and build upon the movies that maybe people didn't love so much, like The Dark World, Age of Ultron, right? And now Iron Man 3, you know,
and to me that's comic books, you know, like every time, like if you're, I think we're in this weird place with the MCU stuff, because we're 25 movies in, and I kind of am cracking up that these movies have slowly, surely been teaching the regular audience what comic book storytelling is. It's not just a costume, a bad guy, powers. It's like, no, it's weirdly layered,
layers, dog.
Yeah.
It's soap operas, it's plot twists, it's retcons, it's silly, it's serious, all of that.
Resurrections.
It's death. It's humor. It's scared. It's all of it. It's that's why I love about the superhero genre. The superhero genre is all of it. It could be whatever you want, whatever pocket you want to hang out in, whatever place you want to tell your story. And the thing about all the stuff you just mentioned, Lawrence, is like, oh, a Marvel movie, I didn't like the Marvel movie. Well, don't worry. You know, eventually a Marvel movie will actually make that bad one a little better for you later on. You know,
just wait.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They're not shying away from the fact that all of this is a single universe and part of a larger story. It always, on that same note, Justin, I love that you called that out, because, like, you know, for me, it always irritated me that people were like, oh, the MCU is the greatest television show in history. And I'm like, are you talking about interconnected stories, you know, from different franchises that blend together into crossover events? Why would you compare it to a TV show and not fucking comic books?
Yeah.
Comic book universe. That's what comic books are. I mean, like, how are you just sort of completely negligent about that, you know. So it
People
really
are so dumb.
yeah.
People are so dumb.
When it comes to these things, they're like, oh, this is a comic book movie, but we're not going to acknowledge at all how comic books are structured in any of this, and we're going to compare it to TV shows. It's just it's frustrating.
Anyway, and it comes with its own kind of territory of like understanding tropes, you know, and just allowing certain tropes to be. Look, I don't know where Shang was staying after he murdered that person. I don't know, but that's not the story, you know. Maybe they'll say that story later.
Clearly, character they establish he's a survivor, so he found a way.
He's going to find a way to survive.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And that's the thing. People will, you know, like it reminds me of like James Gunn being attacked after Guardians, being like, how does Star-Lord's whack man still have battery? It's like, it's a space movie. He put space batteries in it, you fuck. And I'm just like, stop asking dumbass questions. Why does it matter where he hung out?
There's a talking tree. Where's the line?
He found Katie. He was in a public school system somehow. Wenwu said, I always know where my children are. You don't think he set some shit up to be like, just make sure he don't die. Here's like a little bit of money. Make sure he gets a job. You know, like, he's still an Asian dad after all. He's got to have something to hold over your head.
100%.
If you're asked these sorts of questions after the comic book movie genre has been popular and at the forefront of culture for the past 20 years.
For real.
Still, why are these questions still coming here? Like, nobody watches Dark Knight Rises and questions how Bruce Wayne got from the hole in the desert to Gotham City night.
Or how he healed his fucking back with a rope in a cave with a box of squaps.
But it's okay to question whether Shang-Chi is, you know, on the streets after he murdered, you know, like his sister at 16, at the same age, starts a goddamn underground fight club. Why is that easier to believe than Shang-Chi, you know, surviving on the streets or surviving in a home or whatever?
Incredible points, gentlemen. I think a big collective fuck you to anyone who has a problem with those little, because it ruins the experience for yourself when you're looking for those kind of things. And you know what? If we're gonna complain about anything, if I was gonna complain about anything from the movie, it's and I would immediately retract it, I feel like, because it feels weird trying to gear up to say it, is the third act was very CGI heavy. But the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, gosh, what a name.
I know.
Sounds like a comic book name. But Justin Daniel Cretton.
Does that not sound like a wrestler name?
That sounds great. Or someone very elegant.
Yeah, 100%.
No announcing.
Daniel Cretton.
Exactly.
I'm a fan of his, so I just want to point that out. But yes.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. He has now made 2 films that have impacted my life in a very visceral way. Short Term 12, which I watch yearly at least once because it's so powerful and I love it. Same. And this is what it's like living, you know, like the Lakeith Stanfield rap. Oh my god, I watched it on YouTube this morning because I was just like, that's the bop right now. That being said, he did mention that the goal of Shang-Chi, and we could talk about tropes. I love that you brought up tropes. I want to circle back to that because there's, you know, we want to talk about that list that they made for Wenwu and all that. But the thing that I love about this director is that he said that we need to establish that Shang-Chi is a capable hero in the first act. We need to establish all of that emotional journey and character work. And then the last act, not even the last act, but that by the end of the movie, it needs to feel like an MCU level event, an Avengers level threat, in other words, right?
Right.
And he did that. He accomplished that. And if it ended with a fist fight with rings between Wenwu, no one would have been happy with that. That would have felt like Pepper Potts coming in with an Iron Man glove and the Extremis virus. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel earned. That was my problem with that. This felt earned. It was his mother was involved. The Great Protector was always a part of him. The village itself, this extra dimension, we earned that shit because of the groundwork that was laid in the MCU beforehand, obviously.
Right.
and two, because of the fantastic storytelling in this. So you could say what you want about that CGI heavy last act. As an Asian person who has seen a lot of that symbolism and those creatures, and like we all have our, you know, like our own mythologies that we understood as kids, to see that come to life, also to see another live action Pokemon movie after Detective Pikachu, basically, with more, you know, it was so rich of the things that like felt satisfying for me and earned. And fuck anyone else thinks that. You're not gonna tell me that dragon running scene didn't look at straight up an anime, dog? Like, come on.
Right.
I gotta be honest too. Like, here's the thing. I do have my complaints about the third act. I do. It is a little CG heavy, but here's the one thing that the third act of the movie does that no other MCU movie does. It makes this firmly the MCU's first fantasy movie. It is absolutely par with like the type 100%. Of fantasy giving us here is on par with a Lord of the Rings type, you know, those kinds of tropes, or Harry Potter types of tropes. We've never seen anything like that in this sort of a movie. I mean, we've never seen the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. There's more Fantastic Beasts in this movie than there is in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
That's actually very true.
Is that? Oh my God,
that's very true.
Actually,
that's really sad.
Where to find them? You find them in Shang-Chi. Apparently, that's the answer.
That's where you find them.
Yeah, that's where you find them.
You find them in Tao Lo and Shang-Chi. That's where they're at.
No wonder Tony Leung was just like, I need to go there. I need to see what other. Are you kidding me? My Pokedex is like barely full, dog. I got a dog, a cat. I need a fucking 9-tailed fox.
Mike, I want to point out, I want to highlight this, what you just said. That is an amazing point until you just, I didn't think about it until what you said right now. Because again, comics. In my brain, comic books, like, nine-tailed fox, of course, comic books. You know, a creature that looks like a furry butt with wings, comic books. But you're right, in terms of the movies, in terms of the MCU films, everyone's gotten used to aliens and alternate. Now we're getting alternate realities entered into conscious. You're right. This movie now opens the door to fantasy, which we haven't really touched yet. And you know, and that is actually really a significant introduction.
Yes, it is.
To the world. And again, comic books, it's getting bigger,
right?
It's
and
cooler,
you have to see it from the perspective of MCU's fantasy before this point, for the most part, was Thor, right? That was supposed to be the gateway into that, and the MCU took a hard left turn and said, nah, it's science and alien shit. Deal with it. And I'm fine with that, right? Like it worked for the MCU. Now we have chaos magic. We have multiverse. We have dragons. You know, like,
we have dragons.
We're opening the door to something special, right?
Which means that now, and you know, spoiler alert for everyone. I know that it hasn't been established, but now we can actually bring in FilAm Film, everyone. You know, I mean, like that's huge.
I will admit,
I
was like I was kind of hoping. That would be the that's who it was at the end. I was, I was freaking. But that's not him.
that Great Protector was a lady.
Yeah,
you could tell. Yeah, that was a mama.
It's a mama.
But yeah, I feel like act probably would have been a waste. You know,
that's
so
fair.
I'm kind of glad that they did.
Hold on, he needs so rich of character. I mean, sorry, a movie that's so rich of characters. We didn't need another one.
Yeah,
you know, especially to introduce. You know, the Great Protector works, right?
Right.
It's what they powers the village. She's in our hearts. It's your mom. You know what I mean? Like all of those like lovely things that we needed in order for Shang's journey to complete, at least this arc of it. But, Go ahead.
Well, I will want to say, like, if I can kind of bring up one of my only kind of notes to the film. One of my only kind of like, okay, this is where it didn't quite work for me 100%. Now, I love Xiaoling as a character. I think she's great. I think she's incredible. Her performance is amazing. And I only look forward to future roles that she's going to do after this. And apparently knowing that she didn't know any martial arts before this is wild.
Yeah, seriously.
But I do feel like there are a little elements of her that I feel were a little underwritten as a character. And
okay.
and I'll say only this one specific scene where I felt like, and this is such a nitpick. I'll admit to that. And it's not even thinking that the whole movie's ruined.
Yeah,
they didn't do this, but it's a thing where if like I
was it her haircut?
No, it's Boss.
I'm just kidding.
No,
haircut was pretty badass.
I thought it's very badass. No, it's one little detail. So they finally get to Taulo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the landlord from Kung Fu Hustle's holding the line, and which, by the way, that made me so happy. Like, he has the poster, and now the landlord's actually in the movie.
Yeah, how meta is that?
Yeah.
After his film career, he just dipped to Taulo.
So he's holding the line, and then in comes Michelle Yeoh, looking like she's doesn't age ever, and she goes to the scene. Now this is where I'm kind of getting to the heart of it. So like she gets to see her niece and nephew, who she hasn't really met, and so she goes to Zhaoling, and she's like, like, oh, I love what, like, oh, it's, blah blah blah, and then she goes to Shang, and she tells him, "You look so much like your mother." Yeah. So here's my thing: I would have swapped the line to who I gave that to.
Same.
Because
that's a really point.
Because Xiaoling's whole trauma is that her father said, "I can't look at her because you remind me of your mother."
Fuck, you're so right. That
If her aunt said that same line to her with that same loving way, that would have hit so fucking hard.
And let's be honest, between the two of them, who looks more like Fala Chen, it's Munger. Yeah, I agree. That's something I only noticed in my third watch, where I was like, huh, but she looks more whatever. but what you're saying is the implication of what she's saying. That's so much. That's like a really great point. Yeah.
Way differently, and I would have loved that. That's such a good point. I didn't think about that at all.
But it doesn't ruin the movie, FYI. It's a thought I had watching, going like, I would have swapped the lines. Otherwise, I love the character, and I love I love that she owns this underground thing at 16. I love what happens to her at the end. We'll get to later, I'm thinking, but that's my only little note, honestly.
My about her character that I just absolutely love is you get her deal in one spectacularly delivered line, where she says, "If my dad's not going to let me into his empire, I'm going to make one." And that's one of the best lines in that movie, and one of the best story arcs for a female character in the MCU. If it's one thing that I have issues with from an MCU standpoint, if they're trying to go for feminism, they've failed a lot. I mean, like, I know that a lot of people look at the "she's got help" scene from Endgame as something that's meaningful to them, and I'm really glad for that. But to me, it was so on the nose. It was like literally Marvel's. It's in an otherwise flawless movie, because Endgame is my favorite of the MCU. I'm gonna be honest.
Wow.
It's my number one.
Cool.
Yeah,
great.
Endgame just gave me everything that I ever wanted from a comic book movie ever.
I got nothing argument with you, man. I'm with you. I understand that.
In an otherwise flawless movie, that is the one like scene that makes me cringe, because to me it's blatantly trying to shoehorn in this insincere feminism. It's very and they do patronizing a lot, actually, when it comes to empowerment. I do think a lot of Captain Marvel that is very patronizing when it shouldn't be. Even though Kim's a fantastic character and Bree's a fantastic actress, I do think that they go a little heavy-handed in a lot of its themes. And the same thing with Black Widow, which I like. I don't care if anyone hates it, but I liked it. But it does go very heavy-handed with a lot of its feminism. I think that where Marvel has succeeded in its feminist tropes are actually in the two films that you wouldn't expect them to. I think Black Panther is one of the best feminist comic book movies ever made. Everything that T'Challa is a product of like at least 4 women in his life,
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, and the one scene that gets me every time is when Okoye says, "I will kill you, my lover, for the sake of Wakanda, for my country."
Yeah,
that's feminism right there. And I know that I'm talking about feminism not being a woman or anything like that, but how
dare you?
I love, I'm, he's not gonna let me into my empire. I'm gonna fucking take it for my own.
Yeah.
That's feminism right there. That is fighting for everything that you deserve if it's not going to be handed to you.
Mhm.
And that I loved. I think Shang-Chi and Black Panther are the most feminist movies the MCU has ever done, and they did it in such a subtle and beautiful way.
I think it's a great point, and like it's funny because like in a weird. So the strange thing is, Shang-Li's story was sort of was done in a in my opinion, a little not as great in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What we found out what happened with Sharon, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the same concept. I was abandoned. I said, F it. I'm taking over this small section of a very nasty Asian country. And, and which I'm like,
with no Asians, by the way.
With no Asians.
With zero Asians involved.
At least Macau has plenty, but not Madripoor for some reason.
Yeah, whatever that is, right? Who needs Southeast? Whatever.
We don't want to do whatever.
We don't want it.
We don't want to do. Well, what if it's racist? Well, maybe try. I don't know. Stop not trying. But that's this movie, right? But
that's an interesting point, though, Justin. The Jia Ling and Sharon Carter. I see that arc being very similar, and I'll raise you on that or add on to it. Is that we got a better mental health journey out of Shang-Chi in a movie than we did all of Bucky in that show, right? Because they really tackled it. He didn't go to therapy in the movie, but what we did see was multiple flashbacks, and now his aunt and himself and Katie confronting him and having to confront his past to someone new and realize shit, I was a murderer, but I was trained to be.
Right.
But I also, this is unfair, my life was unfair, and it was unfair, and he, like you said, Mike, he came to terms with that, right?
Right.
He completed that journey. And it's really funny that you mentioned Falcon and Winter Soldier, because I thought you were going with the Shang-Chi route, but I see with Jia Ling too, is where you don't have to show so much to know that these people are capable. That's something I want to, let's roll into this as Asian Americans, all of us.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the humanity that this film has bestowed on our community, right? Showed us as capable people, showed us as strong people, showed us people with depth and emotion, and we're not tropes, right? My God, Crazy Rich Asians, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Man, I love being a turtle. Sorry, I had to do it. I've said this before, but Crazy Rich Asians changed my life. People started hiring me more. It mattered that I was Asian and I had a perspective. And I was on that green carpet, and I met a bunch of my heroes. I met my celebrity crush. I met my mom's favorite Oprah figure from the Philippines. And I was like, wow, this feels intensely special, because for the first time in my life, in my career, everyone on the other side of the press line looked kind of like me or people that I hang out with,
100%,
my Asian community. This movie takes that up a notch, because while we got a mild Asian representation in a romance, now I'm having Asian American representation outside of Dante Bosco and Ernie Reyes Jr. You know what I mean? Or Harry Shum Jr. or Wong Fu Productions. While those things, they fed me, now it's the MCU, the greatest franchise of all time, probably, right? It's historic. So I want to ask you guys, because I just gushed about why it's important to me, and there's so much that we could talk about with impact, but while we still have a long way to go, we're not saying this is perfect, right?
Right.
It's Eastern Asian representation, and then beyond that, there's Southeast Asian representation that we crave, and then I myself am a mixed race kid, so it's even further, divided, and I'm further away from seeing myself on screen.
Right.
But this Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, I felt like that was if I could become a superhero. You know what I mean?
Right.
So much about him. The fact that he walked to work in his jacket, that I have a very similar jacket. I used to walk to my shitty job with those earbuds in the Bay Area, where I'm from. it just checked a lot of boxes for me. But for you two, I mean, Justin, you take it away. Let's talk impact for you.
I mean, it's so funny. I love you brought up stuff like Wong Fu and such, because it's like I've been doing or been a part of like independent Asian American films for a long time, and and going to, there's a very big film festival over here in LA called the VC Film Fest, or Los Angeles Asian Pacific Islander Film Festival, and I've been going to that festival throughout the years as both as just a regular attendee watching movies, or had someone who had projects at this event. And it's always great to be surrounded by, you know, obviously other Asian creators and other Asian filmmakers and etc. And we always have the same energy, but there's always this one thing that I couldn't help notice that's always like sucked, which is we're here celebrating what we're trying to do, but no one else was everyone else. And that hurts, you know, because like every year you see a really good movie done by an Asian filmmaker and a great performance from an Asian actor, and we'll go look at that, great job, but no one else is watching it because one reason or another. So the thing about something like Shang-Chi, a big Marvel movie, $150 million budget, you know, they're doing a world tour, you know, it's got superheroes and action and etc. And it's Marvel Disney, like, because everyone talks about Marvel and Disney,
the throne,
and seeing these people like getting all this attention and press. And here's the side fun part. In the scene where Shang and Katie are having dinner with their friends, right? The guy in the scene, I know him.
Oh,
he was in my sketch comedy group when I was
Indian guy.
Yeah, his name is Kunal. And
Kunal, my guy.
And I was watching the film and I'm like, Kunal? Like, and I haven't seen him in years. Like but like, it's the thing where I kind of laughed and I thought about it, like, I guess I had to know somebody who was gonna be in this movie. And like, think about that. Like I can say that, you know, like, and I can, and like, it's seeing, you know, like Mike, I've seen you and another fellow friend of ours, Laura, at the red carpets at these events, but then seeing you guys at the red carpet for this film, I never felt more like, oh, I wish I was part of that, because it seemed monumental, and it seemed so cool that I look around and I'm like, everyone cares now, or more people care now. And like Crazy Rich Asians, I'm glad and yes, you're right, it was successful. I know people who aren't Asian who love that film. My mom, FYI, when I went to go take her to see the movie, she hit me in the arm when Chris Aquino showed up. Like, that's
who I met, that my mom gushed over. Yeah.
When you mentioned that I'm watching the movie, and then she shows up, my mom's like, "You didn't tell me Chris Aquino was here." We're like, I did it? No!
She's a princess. I'm not.
Funny. That's so funny.
But like, so that's that's the type of stuff, right? Like, you go to an American movie and you watch you go to a theater over here, you don't see us, you don't get excited like that. And watching this film, I wish, obviously we're still in the pandemic, and I saw it in a as safe environment as I could, and etc. But I wish, I wish it was a regular time, and I could have saw that on a Friday night in a packed house, because I know it would have been packed. Yeah. And hearing everyone react to jokes that I understood in the same way. Like there's a great joke in Crazy Rich Asians that I still laugh at, where Ken Jeong's character says, like, I'm just messing with you. I went to Cal State Fullerton, and I saw the movie in Fullerton.
Wow. So the audience, so they loved it.
Yeah.
We all went nuts because we're like,
that's us.
That's us. There's so many Asians there. The joke would have been even hilarious if he went to Irvine, and that's a definite Asian Orange County joke. But to watch that and to see, obviously Katie's family scene where you see the grandma, which touching. I'm like,
with Zuko, by the way. That's Zuko in the live action in Netflix. So crazy.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. The kid?
Yeah, her little brother is playing Zuko in the Netflix
Wow.
series.
That's
He
awesome.
just got Dallas Liu. So congrats to him.
That is
But
awesome.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Well,
You're
no,
saying,
but like yeah, like the grandma who I've recognized in so many films.
Maipol.
Thank you.
Yeah, she was in. I just watched Memoirs of a Geisha. She was the grandma on that. You know, that being said, Justin, I want to roll this into you, Mike. You have worked with Nerds of Color for years now, so you've kind of been following film industry from that kind of lens. Why does this feel different, than Mulan or what's another Asian Beatty movie that that was given to us?
We've had a lot the past couple of years. We had Mulan, and earlier this year we had at least 3 others that were all Asian action movies. Mortal Kombat. We had Snake Eyes, and then we had Protege as well.
Right.
I can honestly tell you that it feels different because this one's actually good. That's the fucking difference. Is this is actually a good movie. I gotta be honest, I was nervous about the movie because David Callum, no offense to him, no disrespect,
he wrote Mortal Kombat.
He wrote Mortal Kombat. And he wrote Wonder Woman 1984.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. When you look at his filmography, you're a little bit. I was really nervous when it came to Shang-Chi because I wasn't a fan. I mean, I was more of a fan. I will admit, I was more of a fan of Wonder Woman 1984 upon initial viewing than I was Mortal Kombat. But by no means were these great movies. Very
hot under the dragon skin.
I was really happy that this was a good one. And here's the, I think as an Asian, I'm always supportive of the fact that we do have content being made and starring Asians and Asian Americans. That is really important, and we need history. My nervousness comes from when they're bad movies, and when they box office. My theory is this, and it's a kind of far out there theory, but I believe good movies usually generate good buzz, which usually generate good box office results. I know that that's hard to believe, but I do think that good product does yield good success.
What a
logic doesn't seem to be there.
Where are you getting this data?
But
this guy thinks he knows numbers.
but here's the scary thing. If the product is bad and nobody goes to see it and nobody likes it, Hollywood has a tendency to really put the scapegoat on something that's true. 100%. And if people, prior to Crazy Rich Asians were like, oh, a movie with an all Asian cast isn't going to sell tickets. People want to see Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon and every white actor in Hollywood. They don't want to see Asian cast members. If these movies, if they see the success of Crazy Rich Asians and start doing POC led content, but the content doesn't perform, then they're going to be like, oh no, it's because it's got an Asian cast, et cetera, et cetera. This broke Labor Day records. I think it's at this point.
You gotta say
Labor Day, and in a pandemic, the second high-grossing 3-day opening, beating Fast 9. Okay.
Fuck you,
an established 20-year franchise that has a reputation for breaking box office records. If it broke that means that it's not just that Asian-led movies can absolutely drive box office results, and all it really takes is good quality movies. So I'm really glad about that. Having said that, we'll say this, and it's a bit controversial to say the least. I don't want us to pop the champagne yet. For me, this is and as much as I love Shang-Chi, one of my issues from an Asian perspective is this. I was rewatching Black Panther the other night, okay? And yes, it is an inherent celebration of African American culture. There's absolutely no question, or an African culture, sorry, the Black culture. And there's it's absolutely beautiful in that respect. But not once am I looking at this and seeing things fall into Black stereotypes. In fact, it bucks Black stereotypes. It shows society led by Black individuals that is flourishing, rich, powerful, and full of beautiful scientific advancements and technologies.
Because they have no white people in it.
Yeah. and also and also Coogler, that was Coogler's point, to showcase society that was a positive role model that counters all of like the negative Black culture stereotypes that have been put to film. Where I wish Shang-Chi was a little stronger was, we're getting an Asian movie and it's the Kung Fu guy, you know.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I love that it's a Kung Fu movie. I love that, but I think that Asians have more to offer the world in terms of pop culture and storytelling than Kung Fu and karate shit. You know, I think we need to actually start drifting away from the idea that the only superheroes that we could portray, or the only action heroes that we could portray, are Kung Fu and
ones.
Actually, one of the things that I really liked about The Protege with Maggie Q, by no means a perfect movie, and Shang-Chi is absolutely a much better movie, and a much more successful movie for that matter, than The Protege. But the Maggie Q's character is not a Kung Fu master or a karate master. She's literally a spy who could fight down and dirty on the same level as Bourne. And don't get me wrong, we've done monumental things with Shang-Chi so far this weekend, and I love it, and I'm so grateful that we have Asian representation. It's the first time that I've actually cosplayed as something and felt that the costume actually worked for me, rather than me kind of putting on a Captain America outfit. I'm gonna fucking cosplay as Captain America. I'm gonna fucking cosplay as I don't give a shit what race it is. I just love that shit, and I love the costumes.
Yeah.
But the first time that I've actually put on a costume and it actually felt right. It felt like it fit right.
Yeah.
Asian character, and I'm an Asian person.
Yeah.
But again, I do want us, and I would appreciate if we start moving away from the idea that we're just the Kung Fu karate action stars.
Absolutely.
Give us our own Captain Marvel. You know, what's wrong with giving us an Asian character? Like that's one of the things that I love about you know, Agents of Atlas, the comic book series.
I was just about to mention.
Not everyone's a karate guy. It's a team full of Asian superheroes. Some of them manipulate wind, some of them manipulate water. There's a Filipino one, Pearl Pangan, who
one's a spider person, one's an FBI agent with magic tricks.
Amadeus Cho, who's a Hulk.
And smart ass Hulk.
That's where I want Marvel to start migrating to and thinking about representation. We have to go beyond just the karate guy or the Kung Fu guy and start giving us Asians really good characters that aren't just Kung Fu superstars, you know, that are just as powerful as the Wandas and the Buckys and, you know, the Lokis out there. Give us something that's just a regular superhero who just happens
to be
away
the
Asian,
ancient one.
Give
us someone new.
You know,
come on.
And Mike, I want to say, I 100% agree with you on it. I 100% agree with you. But I do want to point something out. And I do feel like it's something I've been thinking about too, right? Like part of the reason that I feel like I'm kind of glad, in one degree, I'm kind of glad it is a Kung Fu character, is because of the fact that for years, a stereotype that people have decided to do is to make us be ashamed of being martial artists, of having martial arts as something that we can do. Oh, you're Asian, so you probably know the Kung Fu. First off, a Filipino, and I know a Screama. But even
I was just looking at our niece sticks today because I was like, I need to get back into that. That's so funny.
But like, they turned that into a negative. These people have turned that into a negative. So there was a period where, you know, we were like, no, we don't want to do that. Nah, we're more than that. And Wes, we are. But then now there is sort of a turnaround, you know, and I'm starting to realize, like, with, even though not good movies, Mortal Kombat, Snake Eyes, yes, all your Asian leads this year have been martial art movies, but
they're strong though.
So strong. And what I'm taking out of is it's us going, we're kind of taking it back. Yeah. Because
reclaiming it. Yeah.
We're reclaiming, and I'm totally with you, Mike. The next one after this, it better be not a martial artist. I agree with that 100%.
Put me in space, you cowards.
But I will say, you know what? Let's but let's take a little of this back and say, yeah, we do have this amazing, like, beautiful
culture
combat
and
culture
history.
and
Yeah.
combat skill. We do have that. And you should fucking respect that.
I love that. I love that you're mentioning that right now, because in your interview with Ernie Reyes yesterday, right?
Yeah, on Nerdtastic, yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned he grew up with a Filipino warrior mentality, and the way that he viewed that was that it didn't matter if you were in agriculture or martial arts or trying to become an actor, you gave it your all, right? You blood, sweat, and tears. That is not exclusive to Filipinos, as you know, like that warrior mentality, right? And I just feel like, speaking of warrior, we have content like Shang-Chi now. Mortal Kombat did show strong Asian men, you know, like duking it out. Warrior, which is I believe on HBO now. It was like TBS before. Love that show because yes, there's the martial artists, but they're also the head honchos. They're the crime lords. They're the, you know, the what words am I looking for? But the aristocrats, you know, like it's not like, it's getting better 1000%, right? And I think we can all agree with Mike that it's just the start of the journey.
Yes,
because
agreed, 100%.
Our experience as Asian Americans right now has been turbulent. Any good thing that we feel like we have, it always feels like, and I hate this cliche, but it applies to us greatly: 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? We have Shang-Chi this weekend, but it is our fear that something horrible is gonna overtake the news like it has in the past,
right?
Whether that's attacks on Asians or like hate crimes rising in general. It doesn't have to be Asians, right? We've gone through a very turbulent time where community is so important. It's so nice to see a community come together to do something like to break a fucking record on Labor Day weekend. That was like, when was it previously held? You said it was Fast and the Furious, right?
Well,
or that was pandemic numbers.
Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, which was, I believe, was a $30 million Labor Day debut, and that's.
I'm so glad we beat that piece of shit.
Fuck that! Yeah, crushed it, Simu.
Right.
Which is great. I think there's such a long way to go, and I each time when I watched the movie, I got more and more emotional. Sometimes it was for the human aspects to it, and the last time was just because I couldn't really believe my eyes that it's not my language, right? But the prologue was in a foreign language with subtitles. When has an MCU movie just went all in like that? I was so incredibly proud of the decision making that went into it. And I think now would be a good time to just, you know, discuss kind of the behind the scenes that we know of, you know, with what we've gathered over the weeks. They treated this with the utmost respect. They had a list of stereotypes for Wenwu that they definitely did not want to cross, right? Right. They took the racist kind of origins of the character and they gave us something generally completely new, an amalgamation of different characters, sure, but something. If you read Shang-Chi in the comics, unfortunately he talks like an old Bruce Lee movie, right? Constantly, and he's very stoic. Simu brought something to the character, a charm that is necessary to lead an MCU franchise, we gotta say. He brought something to that because he was one of us, you know what I mean? And it genuinely feels like this is of the time, you know what I mean? Oh yeah. So I had to call that out, but like, let's talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you want to talk about?
I was gonna say let's talk about that a little bit. Just like, what were some of the expectations that were subverted for you? We all were kind of worried about this movie. Let's be honest. But here we are.
For me, it was actually because you hire Tony Leung. I expect you to use him properly. You know, and as you pointed out, Lawrence, like that, they knew what they had, right? I did hear that, the writer pointed out, like, we have the list of don't do these things. And clearly, yeah, like, you know, it's like, you know, in case the folks didn't know, you know, in the comics originally, Shang-Chi's father was the greatest Yellow Peril villain of all time, which is Fu Manchu, because Marvel got the rights to the character at the time. And listen, just look him up if you don't know who he is. And
he's more than just a mustache. He's also a racist caricature.
Racist caricature. And so Marvel got rid of that. You know, eventually they lost the rights to that character and came up with a new character. And then Marvel came up with their own Yellow Peril racist stereotype, which is the Mandarin. And so my concern, of course, was like, you know, obviously you're going to have, you know, Tony Leung. You know, I remember when I was at Comic-Con, when I found out that Tony got cast, my brain shattered, because I'm like, you got Tony to do this? Like, dude doesn't do Western productions. And the thing that I loved most about the Subverting My Expectations, it's not just, you know, not just that you used him properly. And yes, as you point out in that tweet, Lawrence, like, you know, like his eyes are a portal in the film. But there's this glimmer in this movie that's my favorite sequence, is the flashback sequence of seeing him happy. Yeah. Seeing him.
Yeah, I cried.
Seeing him. And here's the thing, right? This is where Destin as a dramatic director really kicks in. Because I feel like if it was, I'm going to use this person's name as an example, Michael Bay, those same sequences would have been shot in super slow-mo, and the sentimentality, the bullshit drama would be,
it would feel like a CBS drama or something, right? Like
a music video or a commercial for a, you know, it would feel like, look, I'm being sentimental, and like stop yelling at.
Look, I'm crying over here.
Stop yelling at me. Whereas Destin is a dramatic director, you know, and like I felt those scenes of seeing his life felt like I got some clips of Wong Kar-wai drama in my Marvel movie. And I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, this feels like an actual dramatic film I saw from Hong Kong. And Tony brings that history with him. So I'm seeing, you know, the Tony Leung that I watched in, like, you know, John Woo films and
Wong Kar-wai
and Less Caution from Ang Lee. And my brain feels like I'm watching him in his movies from there. And it's this beautiful sequence, and it's not done over sentimental. The sentimentality isn't overdone. It's like you're just getting glimmers of their life. And damn it, if the moment they're playing DDR didn't freaking shatter me.
They got DDR and karaoke in one film.
One movie.
It's like, you son of a bitch, you got me.
God, but
I'll buy more tickets.
And then seeing them do, like, you know, training together as a family, and then knowing that
was sweet.
Knowing that he shuts Xiaoling out of that. Yeah, you know, it's such a, like, not like my sense. Oh, hopefully you give Tony something to chew on, and then you gave him plenty. And I haven't even gotten to the dining room scene, which I love. Brilliant. But I've been talking too much. Anybody want to tackle that real quick?
It's a fantastic scene. I do echo that. I think that there's a lot of really important you know, lines that they've given Tony in that particular scene, particularly one about the importance of names. Really, and two, that scene is a direct commentary on Western appropriation of Asian culture. And I love that. Actually, Justin, this really reminded me when you were talking about how it's us taking it back.
Yeah.
And you think back to that scene. I think that was where Destin said, "It is us taking us back."
Watch me, yeah,
100%.
We are back. You created this yellow-faced character called the Mandarin. You know, we went through Shane Black to basically create a white version of it, basically. And now we're going to just tell you that that's all stupid. That is all it's really stupid. And it's all dumb. It's a dumb idea that capitalizes on Asian culture. And in that sense, him saying that, this crazy terrorist appropriated the 10 rings and named this after a freaking orange,
Yeah.
what,
I love that so much.
I
an orange.
that scene. And I think to Lawrence's original question, when we're thinking about things that subvert expectations in this film, that's definitely a huge MCU trope, MCU idea that was completely subverted and taken back into Asian roots. We course corrected Iron Man 3, and I am really, really grateful for that dining scene, just for that moment alone, honestly. So yeah,
amazing. I think, God, you guys said so many wonderful things that I agree with. Here's what I'll say, just to Justin's point about Tony's performance.
Yeah.
Or rather his character intention the whole time. From the get-go in this film that he has one goal in mind. It's about his wife. And when he sends the death dealer to work on Michelle Yeoh as this battle's raging, you know where he ends up? The incense table to make an offering to his wife. He's not rushing to the gate. His intentions are clear. It's the amount of respect and humanity that he's a villain, sure, but like I've had narcissistic qualities. What wouldn't drive me mad? That's me going mad. I saw there's pain in him that I thought was you just don't expect it from a Marvel villain. I'm getting it now from kind of Loki. We got it from Thanos. My friend Matt the other day, he was just like, why is it that Marvel villains, the best Marvel villains are dads? And I'm just like, that's so funny. And I saw a tweet the other day that I was like, this movie Shang-Chi is perfect for anyone who has ever fantasized about fist fighting their father. And I was just like, what an Asian American experience. Although
I would disagree with the dad thing. I don't think all the best Marvel villains are dads. But...
we have to delve into like a much larger MCU conversation at some point. But yeah, I think this film was poignant. I think the cast was perfect for what we needed right now, and the amount of work that they're putting in to the press is absolutely admirable, because they're going above and beyond what the call of duty is here.
Like, I kind of want to bring up with the cast, because like I made this realization, like, because yes, Trevor Slattery probably is white, but Ben Kingsley is
Indian. He's Gandhi. He's
So I sat there and I went, is Razor Fist the only prominent non-Asian character in this film?
I think you'd be correct.
Until the end credit scene, but
until the end credit scene, of course. Which I still want to get into.
Budget went, right?
I do want to get into some deep dive Marvel BS, but like, because I'm talking
we'll do
about
some future MCU next. Yeah.
That's not major. That's just to set us to include, be inclusive of Shang-Chi into the greater
world. But yeah, is Razor Fist it? Is that the?
I think you're correct.
Think about that.
Yeah, if we're not
one Romanian guy.
Yeah. If we're Ben Kingsley, then yes.
Yeah, and Ben Kingsley is Indian, so like,
so it counts Asian. Yeah.
So as in terms of at least the actor, so if the only non-Asian performer is Razor Fist,
that's not bad.
That's huge.
That's huge. I didn't even think about that.
Outside of the flight attendant, just kidding. Razor Fist was an actual supporting character. Keep your eyes on that guy. He goes by like Big Nasty on Instagram, but he's about to play Krieg in the Borderlands film. And that dude's jacked and huge.
He was like Ivan Drago's son in Creed 2, right?
Well, that's where I saw him.
Yeah, Stallone actually found him. He discovered him. So definitely keep your eye. Yeah, but I think you're right, Justin. Aside from him, that's a crazy stat to like think about, because like even what Black Panther had Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman, right? That's very interesting. I love that kind of.
I know, and we kind of tend to forget that Ben Kingsley is Indian descent, because he's played.
I never forget.
He plays everything
except for I understand. Actually, you know what? I totally get why you don't.
Because I'm just like, oh hell yeah, Ben Kingsley's in Hugo, Indian guy in Hugo, and it's like, nah, he's white in this. It's like, damn it. But I'm just like, oh, at least he's still Indian in real life. He's a knight.
You can't get rid of that.
That's a hell of
But I think we could talk about this for hours. We could find like little loops to continue driving ourselves in. But before we get into future MCU stuff, because the things that are being set up right now as a whole in the universe are pretty pretty massive. Not even mentioning Spider-Man or Loki, right? Like just within Shang-Chi, there's like a little glimmer of what the future could look like. Is there anything else that you guys want to say that you're burning to say about the film other than we loved it and it was nearly perfect? Again, 9 out of 10. That's a score.
I think, Justin, when you watch it again, because the biggest issue that I had with it the first time I saw it, the thing keeping me from giving it a 9 initially, was I do think that there are, narratively speaking, there's a lot of exposition in it. You pause it to kind of give you backstory. But then my second watch, I ended up loving the exposition. And there's a lot of things that I picked up on my second and third time that didn't really hit me the first time around. One, the fact of the matter is there's so many movies out there that, violate the show not tell principle. All the exposition that they give you is basically showing you, with the exception of one scene, which is the where Non tells you about the soul suckers. There's straight up exposition, and that I think is like the weakest scene in the movie, in my opinion. But other than that, all the rest of the exposition is very important. It's flashing back to different memories from the different perspectives of different characters and giving you pieces of the puzzle, so that by the time you get the last character that views the events of his mother's death, it all comes full circle, and you get it all plays into their deal. So the exposition did not bother me at all, and that's why I was able to just elevate it straight up to that 9, because it was so good. And then a lot of people were kind of like, how does he just know how to use the 10 rings? He's just like a pro at it immediately. And I was like, well, and this I picked up on my third one. It keeps cutting back and forth. The scene where he's getting the rings keeps cutting back and forth to the training that his mother was giving him. And you realize his mom has been training him his entire life and he didn't know it. Like,
that's really good.
Literally, she was training him how to use this stuff right from the get-go, and he just didn't realize it. In fact, he repressed those memories because of the guilt of his, he felt about his mom's death. But then when he was finally able to make peace with it, he flashes back to those memories and he realizes that he actually has been trained in how to use the rings the whole time. And you're like, this is awesome. So when you watch this movie for the second, the third, the fourth time, you are going to pick up on things every single time. And that's just going to make that experience better. And that's the most you could hope for out of an MCU movie, is every repeat viewing that you have, you find something new.
Yeah, 1000%. I love that. Yeah,
that's great. I guess to like kind of wrap up my thoughts, I think one of the things that I think made Black Panther so successful was and that shocked me when I first saw it, is how much did they nail the Black experience and the African experience, an African American experience, and an African experience and an African American experience. I wasn't ready for that. That's why it's so wonderful you get an all Black team. So when you do this movie again, you get an all Asian team, Asian American team. I was hoping to get the same thing, and I did. And the thing is, I feel that's so interesting is that you're going to get all these great martial arts sequences. You're going to get all these amazing fantasy stuff. You're going to get your Marvel BS. But also you get what I think we all, especially second gen Asian folks, is very complicated feelings about your family and where you came from. Yes. And I mean that. And I mean that. And I am so proud of my Filipino culture, but everyone's got their family stuff. Everyone's got their dramas, their traumas, and with their parents, your relationship with your parents, it varies. But don't tell me you don't have a complicated relationship with your parents at some point if you're a second gen Asian kid. And I don't think everyone's trying to kill them or have them become super assassins. But I've had my fair share of of talks with members of my family where it got real and it gets tough, and in a way that only a first gen and a second gen Asian immigrant family can deal with. And I saw that, and yeah, it is amplified times 10 with martial arts, superhero stuff, but it's there. And that makes it different from watching a Jackie Chan film or a Jet Li film. You know, I think I remember my deal with those movies is that 90% of the time, if it's a Jackie Chan or a Jet Li movie, even if they're made in America, they're the foreigners who come here.
Yeah.
Even if it's an American movie, they're still the foreigners who come here with their skill set, with their abilities, and they're still bringing their culture to here. This movie is about dealing with your culture and who you are here in the States and who you are home.
Yeah.
And I feel that is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I got. Also, the bus sequence is fucking rad. But you know,
shout out to the Muni in San Francisco. I think I think you guys nailed the experience where, you know, it's at its core, the reason that it affects me so much is because I see a lot of me in it. Yeah. Whether that's the relationship with the parents, the set design, the way he dressed, the jokes that they made. But I want to talk about the last end sequence, or the last post-credit scene first, because I think it's, to me, it's a little less impactful as the big question of the MCU moving forward. Because to me, Xialing taking over the 10 Rings could look like a secondary Dora Milaje that comes together in a crossover event like Endgame in the future, right? What I would like to see is that I'm wrong. I would like to see that develop into its own thing, whether she runs it as a crime syndicate or rather, you know, like, who knows what she's going to be up to, because did America make you soft? She said it in the film. We don't know what her intentions are going to be moving forward. We do know that she respects her brother a little bit more.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. What do you guys think about the 10 Rings will turn?
I need her to be the Jack Sparrow type. That's the thing. I want her to be that gray area. You know,
a gray Jedi. Okay.
Yeah. Able to do, you know, whatever the hell she wants. You know, using her army. But doesn't necessarily, you know, as long as Shang-Chi just doesn't really get in her way, she's fine. I do have ideas that I want Destin to explore in the sequel. I'm going to be honest. And I definitely want to touch on those a little bit later. But just in terms of the actual, well, actually, I guess I could touch on them a little bit now because it has to do with the 10 Rings as well. Yeah. One of the things that I really want them to focus on is us being the model minority. I want him to emphasize the fact that we have to fight for our own voice in this culture, that we are silenced a lot in this culture, that we are drowned out by, you know, a lot of white voices, but also a lot of other racial voices out there. We are very, very, you know, I mean, I hate to bring up controversial topics, but when AAPI was happening a lot of the violence against the AAPI community was happening a lot earlier this year. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion about it. There wasn't a whole lot of news coverage or media coverage about it, not nearly as much as there was with BLM. And I'm not saying that that's, you know, one's overshadowing the other or whatever. They're both very important topics, but it's very clear and evident that in the society, you know, Asians don't have as prominent a voice. And I want them to explore that with Shang-Chi's character. If anything, I want Shang-Chi to be the member of the Avengers that people aren't just, you know, hearing.
They dismiss. Yeah.
And he just decides, fuck you guys. I'm going to create the Agents of fucking and that's going to be, you know, our Asian voices heard at once, heard loudly. It's also going to expose some of the fallible behavior behind even an organization as good as the Avengers.
Right.
And you could also start to explore these things, you know, I mean, if she has to use the 10 Rings to fight for our voice in a community, then it makes her a fascinating villain. You know, and it also allows Shang-Chi to really discuss or you know, to recognize a lot of those issues in organizations even like the event. So that's really what I want to pitch to Destin, and that's really what I want them to do with the 10 rings. Use them as a means to sort of discuss this idea of us not having as prominent a voice in society and having to fight for that voice.
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's
agree.
A great angle to come
really
from.
Seriously, and I think that's honestly, I feel like that's a good use of using this genre, right?
Yeah.
Like to really amplify that message. That's what Black Panther did beautifully. It's like they amplified the message by using the genre. I think what you're pitching is an outstanding way of amplifying that message, because I think people get that message clear if it's through something that they don't realize is a message, right? If we tell them in a superhero movie, if we tell them in a sci-fi film, this is what we're actually discussing, and then they realize, oh, this sounds terrible. Like if that has to be done via a martial arts Marvel superhero movie where maybe the Hulk shows up, so be it.
Great segue. The Hulk shows up. So I mean, let's take it back, and we can probably roll into like what it all means together. But I love what you said, Mike. Because like in my head it's like, oh, it's the Foot Clan, but it could be so much more, and you're absolutely right about that.
And I do think that, and like I said, Shang-Chi really is a starting point for us. But one of the things that I noticed in Black Panther that we didn't really get to do so much in Shang-Chi is really talk about some of the social issues and social injustices that are plaguing the Asian community. It's very take something like Black Panther and have a character like Killmonger talk about how there are people of black race and African American races and everything like that are being oppressed essentially in all over the world. But we don't ever really get the chance to talk about that for Asians. We just don't. And the fact of the matter is, I wished that we had the ability to do that in this movie, but I also understand why we didn't. Not yet.
Right. Not yet.
We have to set up the character. We have to set up the world. We have to set up the universe.
Yeah.
We can only start talking about this once the character has been earned enough to actually and has made that much of an impact enough to actually start speaking about these sorts of heavier issues. But it is something that I really want them to start thinking about going forward. So that is something that I really want them to utilize. You've got an Asian cast. Talk about Asian messages. Talk about that really matter in this world, because
I think I can agree with you. I mean, it like what's happening in Cuba right now, like I've seen an outcry from my Cuban friends saying like, where was the fire that was there for BLM? And it's hard to compare things, right? And the truth of the matter is you tend to speak out on the things that matter most to you or your community or what you're like most around. And doesn't make it less important, right? But like as far as voices being heard, the reach of that, it takes influencing the majority in order for us minorities to get our any words out. So now the only Asian Avenger is now Shang-Chi, and we saw Brie Larson and Destin Daniel Cretton reunite in that a mid-credit scene.
That made
me
happy.
Mark Ruffalo is no longer Smart Hulk or Professor
Interesting.
Hulk. Interesting. And there's a beacon that's over 1,000 years old, that is calling from inside the 10 rings. They did a great job at throwing Simu and Shang-Chi right into it. Because that was the most Marvel part of it, right? I forgot it was a Marvel movie for the most part until they were like, oh, holy shit, Mark Ruffalo. But it was like, oh, but his arm's fucked up. He must be, oh my God, what's happening? Insane. Implications are insane. I don't know what's calling. It could be an ancient race. Could be... So we got a Fing Fang Foom vote. It could be the Shi'ar or Shi'ar. I can't remember how it's pronounced. It could just be something that ties into the Eternals, maybe. Like it could be something as simple as that.
Oh my God, that never occurred to me. You've got a race of characters that have 7,000 years.
Like, is that beacon a part of the celestial thing that's going on?
That would be so cool if they tie this into Eternals. I would freak out, actually.
I think, yeah, no, those are some. I think that's the thing that's nice about that mid credit sequence, right? Like, it's like I said,
all of us are gonna start Mephistoing all over the place.
All over. It's Mephisto. That's Mephisto. Wong's Mephisto. But I loved. Side note, I do love that. Like, before we even get there, like the last scene is Wong coming in like Nick Fury, going, "Come with me."
Yeah.
and you think the movie, oh, that's the movie, I'm good. But no, the mid credit, that's where the mid credit sequence is for. It's to go, okay, now here's your Marvel BS. This is why I think I was just as like as you when I saw Brie there. I went, oh cool, Justin and Brie didn't break their streak. She got to do another film with him.
She got to do another one.
And but yeah, there's so many questions to ask. Some people are like, well, I don't understand, why is Ruffalo back and not smart? I'm like, maybe you could be patient and wait.
Part of the mystery.
It's not a plot hole. They'll address it.
I know Hulk is going to address it. Everyone fucking calm your titties.
I wish you just chuck the word plot hole into a hole and stop using that as a criticism.
It's not a plot hole.
I don't know. I think most folks don't understand that term anymore, and they use it for, I don't understand it. Plot hole. You know? But like, I think what's so cool about that is, it's like, this is fully, like, you're right, Law. It's like, right. This is a Marvel movie, of course.
Yeah. And it's like,
so,
the Hulk is in this universe. Like,
and it's so cool for Bruce to basically be like, well, welcome
to the circus.
Welcome to the circus. It's so perfect. And I love that Katie's there too.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing it.
Okay.
We're bringing.
She was like, yeah, sure.
And Katie's an Avenger.
That's the thing that's kind of fun, right? Is where it's like, oh, cat, Simu, but then you heard Aquafina's in the film, and you're like, okay, so the funny one, got it. No,
the one that saves them.
She has an arc too. That's just as important. And your guys are right. She saved the day.
Yep.
You know,
if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing. That was her arc, was learning her purpose. Yeah. And if man, did a lot of parts hit home. But when that old lady, my old auntie, says that to Aquafina, my heart bursts, and I was just like, oh God, I needed this, Wipo.
So it's a lot of fun to see that, you know, it's like, she's not just regulated to the comedy funny character. She's actually she's now a part of, as you know, Bruce said, of
something larger.
And we all knew Shang was gonna be a part of it, but it's cool that so is she. And I wasn't expecting the concept of the 10 rings to be something that Shang will use possibly more in the future, until I watched the movie and went, wait a minute, that is a way to give him a little extra boost.
Power boost. Yeah.
And listen, he's clearly one of the best fighters out there. But to say, but if you're like fighting with the Hulk, and we all make the jokes, why is Hawkeye here? He just shoots arrows. Then it's like, and then this guy just kicks things. It's like, okay, he also has.
He's also Sonic.
He's also Sonic. Can I say, like, the change of the rings from literal rings to these like martial arts style bracelets is such a brilliant idea. That's such a brilliant concept, because it makes it even more martial arts. It brings more martial arts into the concept. Like, because before Mandarin would be like, you know,
each one had a thing,
right?
And you know what's funny? Thanos' gauntlet, you can memorize which each gem's name and purpose. The 10 rings, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen them from the comics, go Google image search and figure out what each one is, because those words don't exist. I don't think they're real words. They just made up some some comic book bullshit, and it works for the comics. It works for this yellow peril villain that just seems to do everything. But the MCU did something that it just does. It nerfs the power level of these characters or these items just a smidge, so it's a little bit more balanced, right?
Yeah.
Like, like Thor still bleeds. What's
Right.
another example? You know, like Steve's shield, the vibranium, it got cracked by Thanos' sword. You know, like there's it only goes so far. It's nothing is, no one is really immortal, right?
Yeah.
I think. But
we'll wait till Eternals, I guess.
that being said, so Eternals is something that I'm thinking about, is could be the beacon, but how that times in. The other big thing is jumping off of Loki, right?
Yeah.
Or even Wanda, the multiversal war. It could be Kang reaching out through an ancient powerful item to try to like team up with whoever has it, right? But then the theory of that's wrong with that is that Nathaniel Richards was born in the 31st century technically, but
Right.
if he's controlling time and time travel, it could be over 1,000 years ago. He was a pharaoh, for crying out loud. One of his variants was a pharaoh in the comics. Right. And we've seen He Who Remains in the show, but we haven't seen Jonathan Majors as what we're gonna know as Kang in what I assume is Quantumania.
Right.
Which seems like a really, really large task for Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, our smallest members of the team and our biggest members are gonna take on Mr. Time Travel. Like, oh my god. Evil Doctor Who, basically, the master. That being said, I'm very curious. I'm very hopeful. This has been the most excited I've been about the MCU since probably Endgame. I mean, I know that's not too many. I mean, we had a pandemic and we're still going through it. A lot of delays. Far From Home's coming out. That looks insane. Eternals looks like another straight up banger. But damn, am I excited to see where it all goes. And to the fans that feel like the experience is cheapened because the scope is getting wider, and it's like, well, Avengers seems so small, or like collecting the Infinity Stones is bullshit now because they're paperweights. Like, that's comic books, baby. That's the genre. And this is storytelling. This is hard sci-fi now. Think of it that way. Like, if you can believe the shit that's gonna come out in Dune, you can believe the 10 rings, you know, were found in a crater in XYZ. Right. I'm very excited, and I hope you guys are excited for the MCU too. I mean, like, Eternals with Chloe Zhao is just another one that I'm very excitedly ignorant.
I feel spoiled in terms of Asian representation in this last chunk of the year with Marvel, because not only did I get everyone in this film, but I'm gonna get like 3 more.
Yeah, Gilgamesh. You got like, Kingo with Kumail.
And like I've already pre-ordered my Gemma Chan and Kumail figure. Like, nice. I'm a little bummed out to find out that Gilgamesh is the Build-A-Figure. I went,
bummer!
You sneaky sons of bitches!
Your Train to Busan diorama is gonna have to wait.
It's like, I hope I like the whole movie. I hope I really love the movie. That I'm like, fine, I'll buy all of them. But until then, I mean, like, yeah, like I think, you know what? Like, here's the thing, Mike. Like what you said earlier, I point out, I agreed with you, and but hey, you know what's amazing is that within 2 months, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that with the Eternals. 3 Asian characters in that film. 3.
That's right.
With an Academy Award-winning director
who's Asian American. You know?
Director for that.
You know
matter.
What's funny? I was at the Endgame red carpet, purple carpet, and I was working with AMC Theaters at the time, and it's really hard to pull people. I don't know if whenever I'm out on a carpet and I have to get interviews, I say elbows out a lot. Yeah, that's my motto, just to keep my space and get my questions in, right? That being said, I remember Chloe Zhao going up to the D23 guy, and she goes, "Do you know who I am?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're Chloe Zhao. You're directing the Eternals." And she was like, "Mm-hmm." And, you know, she's just like casual. And I remember that moment being like, "Damn, this is just like someone I know." You know what I mean? Like she had the vibe. I was just like, "Do you even know who I am?" Like, it's so down to earth and normal, and the fact that she wasn't in like something like extravagant. I think these are the unique voices that Marvel is harnessing now. You know, like Cretin was an indie filmmaker. Coogler was an indie filmmaker. Even Kate Shortland, say what you will about Black Widow, she can direct the shit out of an action movie. It did great, you know. And
not like her fight scenes in Black Widow were phenomenal. So she's fantastic.
Yeah. And so I'm very excited. But we have a long way to go. I think Mike said it perfectly. This is a triumph. A W is a W. We won. Yeah. But we also need to keep the momentum going. That's the end of the story, really.
This is why we need Agents of Atlas, guys.
Yes.
It's an honor for Marvel too, because think about the different franchises that you could start here: an Arrow franchise, Silk. Oh, I mean, like really, you've got Jimmy Woo as well, and Randall. You know, he was goofy in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but they really upped his game in WandaVision. You know, make him a fucking main player. You know, why not?
So it was really gratifying when WandaVision came out, and then all these people just fell in love. With Jimmy Woo.
With Jimmy Woo, baby.
And I've been a fan of Randall Parks since 2009. And I'm like, I've been at the party. Where have you been?
And it's so great to see him flourishing now. How many projects just got announced this year that he's writing and directing or producing? Hell fucking yeah. Here's my hope for Agents of Atlas, since we're kind of on the topic.
Sure.
I want an X-Files style anthology kind of series, almost like Freak of the Week, you know, like fighting crime. You know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., say what you will, I love that show, but like the formulaic, it's like Smallville back in the day, or Arrow, they have that kind of like Freak of the Week kind of like, this is the villain we need to topple. But I'd like to see it from Jimmy Woo's perspective, recruiting the Asian superheroes that are best fit to take on these challenges, and then maybe it can culminate in a crossover event with Simu showing up, because that dude's no stranger to TV. He'll do it, I think.
Well, I don't even think this should be a TV show. I think you should just make it a movie series. Agents of Atlas,
give it to me.
$150 million blockbuster with Simu. It's you're doing an Avengers level crossover within a universe that has the Avengers in it. So you're crossing over Asian superheroes in a film. After you set up characters like Arrow and Amadeus Cho and shit like that, you set them up in their own movie. And then eventually, when it comes to the mega MCU crossover events, you've got the Agents of Atlas, you've got the Eternals, you've got the Avengers, you've got the Young Avengers. Like that whole universe that's going to be a monumental fucking event, you know?
And they have to do it, right? Endgame, it put people's expectations here. And the fact that Shang-Chi is meeting those expectations, nay, exceeding a lot of people's expectations, just speaks loads to the storytelling that's involved here, right? I've always said it, in Kevin Feige we trust. He seemed to really be proud of this in a way. You know, like he doing his best as like the white front man of the world's greatest band. You know, like we've got a long way to go, but damn, is it fucking? I mean, I'm like anxious thinking about all the possibilities. You know,
in so many ways, not just from you know, a dragons and fantasy perspective, which it does, but also from an Asian and social perspective. And also just from a storytelling perspective, everything, so much that you could do after Shang-Chi now. And that just gets me really excited.
Well, and, you know, kind of go back into like talking about like, you know, like don't let the momentum stop, you know, keep it going. Like, I think this movie is part of the momentum that started with Crazy Rich Asians, you know, and, you know, like, here's the thing. I always tell people, this is like, look, Hollywood in the 90s, Hollywood made the Joy Luck Club. And
that was it.
And like, they were like the biggest Asian actors we can get, Asian American actors, like Wayne Wang, who's like this the critically acclaimed Asian director, big studio based off of a popular book from an Asian writer here. It came out, it got great reviews, it did well, and Hollywood was like, great job, and then stopped doing it.
Until about Crazy Rich Asians.
And I kind of am glad that after the success of Crazy Rich Asians came out, we as a community were like, hey, don't stop with this one. And now, you know, like we live in a world post Fresh Off the Boat, and even I'll even include Young Rock to a certain degree, because that show is about like a Samoan, even though it's about The Rock.
Even Jumanji, right?
Jumanji, yeah.
Like we're starting to see more of that diversity come to play. While it might be the same players or whatever, it's happening.
It's happening. And like it's the fact is we have to keep, and like I said, we have to keep going. This year, like we said, there have been 3 that may not have been great, but that's wild to think there's 5 big Hollywood films that had an Asian lead that's action based, that was a franchise starter, and they did it, you know. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That's the thing. He is going to separate this from a trend to something that's actually viable.
100%.
Because you could put out these hollow pandering type movies that aren't, you know. I mean, let's be honest. That's what Hollywood does with trends. The Avengers made it big. Everybody tried to do cinematic universes. So you had for every Avengers, you had garbage. You had like a Mummy trying to dark universe. You had the Amazing universe that wasn't very good, that trying to set up Sinister Six. You had what else? You had like the DC cinema extended universe, which was hit and miss. Yeah. It's everybody wanted to do cinematic universes because Marvel did it big. So in the same vein, Crazy Rich Asians comes out, makes it huge, and people are like, okay, so now we have to do all these PC casts, you know, to try and
Hollywood heard Crazy Rich, you say?
Yeah. And they're like, okay, so let's just slap some products together with Asians. Let's get Henry Golding. Henry Golding's big because he was in that Crazy Rich Asians movie, so we'll put them in these movies.
Let's make him the mute masked character.
Yeah, and that's going to get people in the theaters because it's okay. It's going from let's put these hollow products with Asians together to let's actually make good products and have those good products led by Asians.
Right.
And that's where I think Shang-Chi is going to change things. You know, it is the realization that Crazy Rich Asians wasn't a blip. You know, no pun intended. You know, it's crazy. Shang-Chi is proof that good movies can exist with Asia that can actually make money at the box office. And
hell yeah.
We've had a lot of good ones. We've had Minari, for example. We've had Parasite was obviously just a foreign language film that finally was accepted by Western cultures. But those were hardly blockbusters in the same way that Crazy Rich Asians and Shang-Chi are. Yeah. And now we actually are like, it's not just Crazy Rich Asians, guys. It's not just a trend. It's actually the way things are going forward. Right. You know, we're gonna make good movies, and we're gonna make good movies with diverse casts. Right. And whether or not you think it's, you know, here to stay or not, it is here. You know,
the fact of the matter is Asian Americans are still the fastest growing demographic in this country.
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch movies, and we're gonna watch movies that look like us, that talk about getting boba or like singing karaoke. Yeah, I'm gonna eat that shit up. Do it.
Right.
You know, like the three of us were very much on the same wavelength of like hopes for the future and celebrating the success of Shang-Chi. And I think I don't know, the film industry is changing, but this movie specifically, Mike, I agree, changes everything.
Yeah.
It's really it's already changing things. Venom 2 got pushed up because they're like, oh, people are gonna go to the movie. It's like, no, people are gonna go to our movie. Shang-Chi was good, so we got fingers crossed that all of these other movies that want money. Yeah, I'll be there for Eternals though. Yeah, Marvel earned my ticket.
Right,
you earned another 2 Shang-Chi tickets. Like, this movie blew my expectations away, and I hope I'm not setting the bar for any. I mean, if you've listened to this,
why did you watch this if you've not seen the movie? That's on you.
It's so dumb, dude.
Like, no offense, but that real stupid. But
yeah, my final statement on this is, I love this movie. I still can't place it in my top 5 yet. I don't know where it sits because Winter Soldier and the first Guardians are very much up there, but so is Infinity War and Endgame. Kind of like, you know, it's hard to say. But what I will say is I'm extremely proud of everyone involved.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely proud to be represented in a way that I've never really felt before. Like, genuinely, this is insane. It's a comic book. A comic book fan just became a superhero in real life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's the same. He's, you know, I hear about his process. Like he used to cold call or cold email Wong Fu Productions. I do that. I'm trying to get cast in that stuff all the time. He took a stock photo job. The journey of not even Shang-Chi, but Simu Liu is one that's very special to me.
Yeah.
So this film will continue to be special to me. And I'm honestly, if I ever have kids, I'm stoked for the day I get to show them this. And be and like, hopefully I'm not their Wen Wu. You know what I mean? Hopefully they're like, you remind me of Michelle Yeoh. I'm just like, thank God, dude. Oh man.
Punch like posts and shit.
All right, now keep punching.
At least he didn't say. At least he didn't say John. You know, like Ronnie.
I invited my friend Andy Lee over. He's just gonna whip you with the stick for a while. Sorry about the mask. It's mysterious though.
It's COVID.
But yeah, that's kind of
yeah.
Hopefully, when I have this hypothetical child, that there will not be COVID.
That's true.
But that's kind of what I have to say. This movie is special in so many ways because the cast, because the story, because it's Marvel, and I loved it.
Justin, final thoughts?
You know, like I said, like you know, it's funny. Like Lawrence pointed out, like on my stream Nerdtastic, we interviewed Ernie Reyes Jr. yesterday, right? And Ernie, you know, like for Filipino Americans, like Ernie was huge. But if you think about it, like Ernie sadly didn't get the shots he deserved to really blow up. You know, like, and it sucks because when you look at him in all his movies, even when he was a little kid, he had it. He had something special. He had the charisma. He had the skill. And, you know, listen, I have a fondness for Surf Ninja. I get why it bombed. You know?
My dudes.
And as he pointed out in our interview, the sad reality is Surf Ninja's bombed, and that sadly killed the momentum of his career. And, you know, we could have, if Ernie had a Shang-Chi, you know, God, I thought about that today. If Ernie had a Shang-Chi, I think he'd be in a different place now. You know, he's still, you know, he's doing great. You know, he's still thriving and doing his thing and proud of his history. But I can't help but think about, like, I'm glad for Simu, but I'm looking at what happened to Ernie and going like, God, you know, it does take that project. And
listen, you are a product of all that came before you.
So,
and let's be real though, he's paved the way. Like, it does. I totally understand that perspective. It sucks. Yeah.
But you know what? But I'm saying that from my past, my past, right? There will be a new generation of kids who went, you know, either they saw it in theaters this weekend with their family, or they're going to watch it on Disney Plus later or whatever. And 20, 30 years from now, they're going to be saying that movie changed me. That movie motivated me to either do martial arts, or that movie motivated me to be a boss lady, or that movie motivated me to figure out what to do with my life, whatever. That's
Mom, I'm gonna start a crime syndicate. Why? Shang-Chi was just so dope.
And even if they don't do anything kind of brilliant to this movie, just to see like that, seeing a guy like Ernie Reyes Jr. growing up meant the world to me. Seeing a guy like Dante Bosco in a fight with Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams meant the world to me. And so, and then I say the same for Jason Scott Lee and Jonathan Key Kwan, who of course was Short Round. Like, these guys meant the world to me. Yeah. And the bummer about all of them is sadly none of them were the leads.
Yeah.
And this movie, he's the lead. But on top of that, you can relate to Katie, you can relate to Xiaoling, you can, you know, etc. And that's the power of a popular pop culture film like this, right? Is that, like, I love it now as a 37-year-old, and I'm excited to see more. A 7-year-old's going to see this and get their mind blown. Just like when I was 7 and my mind was blown when I saw a kid named Kino beat up some thugs during a pizza delivery fight. You know,
with the Ninja Turtle. Yeah.
With the Ninja Turtles, no less. Exactly. You know, he teamed up with Raphael.
I mean, it's the sad nature of things that when Ernie Reyes was trying to start his career out, the world was not ready for ththese kinds of stories to be told.
Right.
And that is really, really horrible. But at the end of the day, it took him 30 years, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
Let's face facts here. Snake Eyes is not going to be considered a box office success. In fact, it's considered a bomb. You know, but it speaks volumes that it hasn't killed Henry Golding's career.
Right.
That Henry Golding still has a career outside of this, and partially hasn't derailed the momentum from Asian casted films, whether superhero or otherwise, because Shang-Chi kind of kept that thing on track. You know, it's absolutely kept that thing on track. And if Ernie Reyes had come out with Surf Ninjas and it bombed in 2021, Ernie Reyes Jr. would still have a shot. He'd still have a shot. And I think that it is very slow progress, unfortunately. But I can't deny that it is progress. Yes. And it's that progress that's making me very happy. And for all those naysayers out there who are like, oh, this movie's only getting praised because of POC progress, blah, 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 blah. Well, one, fuck you. As Lawrence, to reflect what Lawrence and Justin did, fuck you. And this is
this is for you. Did you drop that? I got it. Hold on, another one here.
Wow, you're a great swordsman, dude. Incredible.
My hand hurts.
We aren't praising this movie because we're Asians and because this is an Asian movie. We're praising this movie because it's a legitimately fucking good movie.
Exactly.
And just happens to be Asian.
It just happens to be Asian. Yeah.
It just happens to be Asian. The characters are phenomenal. The action sequences are phenomenal. The storytelling is phenomenal. And the emotion that you get from all of these elements just put together because the characters are good, the relationships are complex, the fight scenes are fantastic, make for a really exceptional, fun movie. It is an important movie, yes, but it is a good movie first. And I think that that's something that everyone out there who's naysaying, this movie because they think, oh, we're kissing Marvel's ass or we're just woke or whatever. No, fuck you. It's a fucking good movie. So, eat shit.
There you go.
First of all, fair enough. I'm a person who, if I get to see something, I'm a very easy to please consumer of pop culture. Mm-hmm. But I gotta mirror what you said. It's just good. It's good for this. It's just good.
And
gimmick.
We mentioned the fact that 3 other movies came out this year. I've seen Mortal Kombat. I've seen Snake Eyes. They're okay to not good. I'm not, and they're Asian led, and they said, oh, we're Asian led. But I'm like, you know what? But this movie, this one worked.
I shit all over Mortal Kombat. I fucking hate that movie. I'm not praise it just because it stars Asians. If it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie. So I love the representation of it all. Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. I love that.
But hiring a white music video director, maybe not the best bet for one of the largest gaming franchises there is.
As his first movie, good call.
Yeah.
Tell a story about a tournament that's not at all about a fucking tournament.
Pre-Mortal Kombat.
That's the real title, right? Pre-Mortal Kombat.
Snake Eyes, but the reasons I didn't like it were certainly not because of POC reasons. No. It was the best movie. I would have given it a higher score if it was a legitimately good movie. But Shang-Chi is legitimately a fucking good movie.
Amen.
Yeah.
And it means infinitely more to us because it's Asian led, but it is a good movie. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Now, we've been talking about this for hours. I don't know if you've ever figured it out how much we really think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking for hours about why you should be watching. I don't know why you're still.
If you hated this thing and you're watching this, I have no idea what you. That's all. Again, you wasted 2 hours of your life.
Yeah. Now we obviously
Watching this angrily.
we got to find some way to wrap up, but I need to know this from both of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're all Filipino.
Yeah.
We all got that blood in us. So we all have a karaoke song of choice. We must have a karaoke song of choice. Does anyone want to call theirs out? I could go first because I have a couple.
Please.
Yeah.
Bon Jovi's "Living on a Prayer." That's a good one. A crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
People go nuts. They're like, "Oh shit, this guy's doing Bon Jovi."
Nice.
My backup one, anything Disney, by the way, just Disney anything. Let's do it. Let's rock it. But my backup is Kings of Leon's "Sex on Fire," and then I use a voice. I go, and people are like, "Is that the King of Leon on stage?" Nope, it's me. So those are my two of my go-to karaoke songs, plus Disney, plus all of Disney, basically.
Nice.
Your shirt says Disco Manila. You have to go next.
I know. So here's the truth. Like, I'm always scared to sing at karaoke, so I don't have the guts to do it. But if I have enough adult beverages in me, my go-to answer is usually Broadway shows numbers. So specifically, Avenue Q,
Nice.
or Rent, because I'm basic that way.
Classic.
Specifically, I think You're What You Owe, that one. And yeah, I sing the Mark part because I'm also basic that way. Yeah, those are my go-tos.
You don't love FOM? Like that's a brilliant.
But that's like everybody. But if you're asking me to do me and like I do a duet with somebody, I'll do a Mark part. And then I had one more with me. Okay, I have been trying to see if I can nail it because I wanted to see if I could, because it's the Bobby Brown song from Ghostbusters 2. I don't know if you guys know that one.
The one that's playing
think so.
Statue of Liberty's Walking, right?
Yeah.
I forgot.
Oh shoot. Da, 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 got to take control. That one I kind of want to. I want to nail that one day.
Yeah, have it in your back pocket.
I want to be like, oh, I don't know what I could do. Bam. Mike?
That's it. We're going karaoke. Justin singing this shit, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, private room karaoke, bud. That's like the greatest thing in the world. Like what they were.
Exactly.
Norebang. Yeah.
I'll be down. Trust me. Just get some. Just let me pregame for a bit.
We'll let you pregame. For me, so I'm not much of a singer, okay, but I like rapping. So I usually do "Can't Hold Us Now" by Macklemore.
Nice.
I like challenging my motor mouth skills, I guess. And the other one's a little unorthodox. I turn on Justin Timberlake's "Cry Me a River," but instead of singing "Cry Me a River," I rap the lyrics to "Forgot About Dre" and mash up the songs. So I do of "Cry Me a River" live. Yeah, it's
what a treat. You're like Biz Marquee.
Yeah, so not as good as Biz Marquee.
How did you stumble upon that? How did that come about?
It just happened. I think in a car ride one day, I had way too much time in traffic or something like that. It fucking worked. So
now you got a banger on your hands.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I propose: is some kind of content that forces us to be in a karaoke room together with some drinks. It could be private, where we sing a little, talk a little, and snack a lot. Probably. I hope.
Well, I think we have to go out to dinner with friends and then try and call it an early night, and then somebody goes, or takes this. We cut to the karaoke bar, you know.
Amen. Also, best for me, my favorite ending to a Marvel movie is Wong, Katie, and Shang-Chi singing Hotel California.
Such a good mid-credit scene. One of the best mid in Marvel, because it's funny as shit. It sets up everything. It gives you, like, you know, those Easter eggs that you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it also gives you that humor, and it's just the funniest
Just
fucking
feels good. Full circle, baby.
Yeah,
Full circle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like in terms of all credits, ending and mid credits, it's like the shawarma scene and then this.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Like these are the two most relatable. Those are the two most I've ever felt relatable to a superhero. Because I
yeah.
always say about the shawarma scene is that's me after a con.
Yeah. In costume too.
In costume too, and then the karaoke is like, yeah, no, I guess we're going to Max's tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're going to KBBQ
We're going
and
to
then
KBBQ.
drinking too much. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna. So I will see you on 3rd Street. All right, I'll see.
Nice.
100%.
Well, guys, this was super fun. Obviously, we talked a lot, and we could probably keep going, but I think we reserve our next MCU talking points for like some kind of battle royale situation where we talk full MCU, because we got over 25 films and TV shows, and there's a lot of things that are about to change. Maybe we could get that in before Eternals or even Far From Home, where it seems like it's gonna get madness, multiverse madness. That being said, go see Shang-Chi multiple times. Let's make that gold open a gold semester or something. I don't know, gold stars all year for the rest of the year, and then on Disney Plus. But yeah, I mean, I'm Law. We're gonna be here. You're gonna find us here. That's Justin, that's Mike. I don't know if you guys want to say anything to say goodbye, but thanks for joining us for sure.
No, like if you guys really did enjoy this, please let us know. Like if this was like, listen, I can talk to these guys recorded or not recorded. That's the truth. And
we didn't record, which is great.
Son of a bitch. I mean, that's fine, that's good, but I mean, like, I thought
I had to hang out with you guys for 2 hours. I was on my best behavior.
What the fuck? But no, this again, if you guys, but hey, like while I'm here, might as well plug the other stuff we do. I obviously, if you're still here listening to me, I talk other places. I have a podcast called Nothing New, a remake podcast where we compare the original to obviously its remake. I have another YouTube channel called Disney Plus Diversity, where we do deep dives into the Disney catalog and digest to see and discuss and dissect to see how diverse they are, even we're talking about the other projects. And I do a live stream on Twitch on the Geekish Network called Nerdtastic, where my friend director Patricia Janessa and actor co-host Earl Balon go through different properties and kind of do a little bit of oral history on each of them. So I'm sure that's plenty of places you can hear me jabber on. Also, I'm on Twitter at Justin Quizon. So
Mike, where can we find you, man? You can find me at on Twitter at TidyBowlBoy182. Don't ask. And then
damn, I really wanted to ask.
I'm on the Nerds of Color, at the Nerds of Color, of course. And just we do a lot of content on YouTube. We do a lot of content on obviously social, and we've got a pretty awesome site called thenerdofcolor.org. So if you ever want to read any of my reviews, if you want to see why I shit all over Mortal Kombat, it's there somewhere. But if you want to see why I loved even more so than the 2 hours, if you can't get enough of Shang-Chi because 2 hours here talking with Law and Justin was enough for you, I got my review posted. So yeah. And then Law, where can we find you?
I mean, I'm on pretty much everything as at Law J Sharma, LAWJ, and then my last name, except for Twitch. I'm under Lucky Charms, and instead of an S, it's a 5. But I haven't really started streaming, but that's the hope, and we're hoping to expand this too in an organic and fun way. But I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to us banter on. And I hope that you enjoyed our perspective, because we've got plenty of it.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, we are the FilAm Film Fans, and this was Hollow Time. Thanks for joining us.
All right, bye.
Mix that.
Bye. Mix it.
Mix it. You gotta mix it.
Don't choke, Amazing.